Have you ever given a talk at one of your industry's conferences or conventions in front of 50, 100, 500 people, and then walked off the stage and thought, I'd like to get paid for doing that? If so, this interview is for you. Many speakers get their start by speaking within their industry as part of their job at conferences, at conventions, at meetings, and you can gain a lot of time in front of audiences doing activities like that. If that sounds familiar, if you've been doing a lot of speaking within your job, or perhaps you are a senior leader seen as someone with something to say, you could already be well on your way to establishing a speaking business. If this thought has ever crossed your mind, then make sure you listen to this entire episode, because with me I have one of the top speaking business mentors, Jane Atkinson. Jane Atkinson has been helping speakers catapult their careers for nearly 30 years. She's the author of The Wealthy Speaker 2.0, The Epic Keynote, The Wealthy Speaker Daily Success Planner and Journal, and freshly released Scaling Your Speaking Business, 10 Strategies for Earning More While Doing Less. Prior to coaching, Jane worked as an agent for several speakers whose careers skyrocketed. She also served as vice president of a speakers bureau in Dallas, where she represented several celebrities, best-selling authors, and business experts. Jane's Wealthy Speaker School offers online courses, masterminds, and private coaching programs for speakers at all levels, helping them position their work to gain those almighty higher fees. Hello, welcome to Talk Shop. Jane, thank you so much for being here. I'm delighted. My delight when you came on the Zoom meeting was genuine.
Yay! Good to see you, Lauren. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And for everyone watching, to understand the degree of my delight, Jane Atkinson is one of the mentors for basically every speaker I know. At some point, if you are talking to a speaker in Canada or the US, when I've spoken to speakers stateside, at some point, Jane's name comes up. So I have a little bit of celebrity going on here. Bear with me.
Thank you.
Jane, you've helped so many speakers grow their businesses. Like I said, I don't think that your name has not come up with at least once with every other speaker I've spoken to. And you know the behind the scenes more than just about anyone else out there, because that's what you did. That's what you continue to do. For years. You were the business as opposed to the stage, which is, a little unusual for people to come across, people who know the business of speaking as well as you do. What are some of the traits from someone who is so deep into the business side of things? What are some of the traits you've seen in people who've taken the leap to become paid speakers and who have experienced lasting success? So not just a flash in the pan, the ones who have stuck it out. What do they have in common?
Right. Well, for the first maybe half of my 30 plus year career here inside the speaking industry, I was first an agent. And so it makes me think back to, well, what did those people have? Because I was able to go in as an agent and double their businesses year over year. And so what did those three, that was three different speakers, what did they have in common versus what have my clients since then have in common? And I think it all boils down to kind of like a mindset and a belief that anything is possible. Anything that they put their minds to is possible. And sometimes we get that kind of level of confidence from the things that we've done in our history, but also there needs to be something ingrained in people where they just really, really believe in themselves and they believe in the value that they are putting out into the world. And I think that is probably the, when we struggle, it's likely because of that.
Yes. I say yes from the bottom of my heart. And that strong belief that you do have something unique, something special to share, even if there's other people in the space that speak to the same thing you do.
Yeah.
They know they have something unique to share. And is that what kind of drives them into speaking to begin with?
Yeah, I think people start to ask. That's often how an executive enters into our arena is they get asked, okay, well, I see you're having some success. Why won't you come and share your secret sauce with us?
Mhm.
We'd like to know what it is. And or you're in an industry for a long period of time and you create this reputation for yourself as a thought leader in the industry. And so people start to ask you, can you come and help us with that? It's funny how we all share industry secrets with each other. We do, and a lot of
Yeah.
industries do. And so I think that it's really nice when you get that recognition inside your industry. But one thing that I think people need to do, okay, take what it is that you have done and then really look at the smallest things that really, you might take these things for granted about yourself and why you're so special and why, it may be that you are someone as a leader who is a really amazing connector. And that might be connection leadership might end up being the thing that you take out into the world. And it's because of these, it's leadership, but it's this particular type of leadership that allows you to create a path for yourself.
You have really strong perspective again on that niche thing. But maybe a bit of an overused words, or niche for my American listeners.
That's right. I don't
That
even know.
niche thing that really helps you to bring the special sauce, regardless what the topic might be.
Mhm.
Now, in your experience, when do you see people who watch this show, generally speaking, many of our viewers are established professionals. They've been in their industry for a while. They're at moving towards senior leadership or at that senior leadership level. When do you find that these employed professionals or leaders start to seriously look at becoming a paid professional speaker? So they speak in their industry, they speak at their
Yeah.
conferences, but now they're saying, I want to do this under my own banner.
I've drank the Kool-Aid and I want
Drank
some
the
more.
Kool-Aid. You
And they
have
say,
to.
maybe I can get paid for this. And the truth is, yes, they can get paid for this. And I think so let's just say you're just someone who wants to become a professional speaker. What would we do? We typically send people out onto the freebie circuit.
Mhm.
And a lot of these people have already done the freebie circuit and maybe have been doing the freebie circuit for years. And the goal is that when you go and do those free presentations, that they then lead into paid events.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, after doing these for years, somebody has come up to you and said, I'd like you to deliver that for my organization. How much do you charge? And it's at that point that you say, yes, I charge X, $5,000, whatever, pull the number. We start to think about, okay, well, what would I charge? And now you're off to the races. And you may still do freebies, but the freebies again may lead to paid speaking engagements because they're in front of perfect audiences full of decision makers.
Right. Where I've seen many people cut their teeth and kind of catch the speaking bug as well, discover that they love treading the boards in the
Mhm.
nonfiction area. As I like to think of speaking, it's when they have been giving those talks in front of fairly large audiences at those major industry events. So quite often I will see a senior leader come in as one of the keynotes
Yes.
at an event, but they're not getting a fee from
Mhm.
the event organizers. They're getting paid. It's essentially seen as part of their job,
Right.
part of their official job. They're paid a salary to come to do this. So for those who have experienced that kind of speaking, there can be a little bit of hesitation. Like, is it okay with my employers that I now go out and do this, especially if it's within that same industry?
Yeah.
So for speaking at industry events, you want to take on these paid speaking opportunities beyond your official job. People have
Mhm.
said, hey, can you come do that for us? What sort of issues have people that you know, or can you think of senior leaders encountering if they want to hang out their shingle and take on these gigs separate from their job? They're not giving up their job, but they want to do a little bit of both.
Well, part of the thing is that the industry now sees you as a resource and an unpaid resource. And so it may be that you have created something in your backyard that you may be able to get out of or not. So number one, of course, we need the permission of our employers to go out and do this. And many of the employers can see the benefit to have someone out there doing great work and working for them at the same time. I think there's a win-win there, and they can certainly negotiate that. When it comes, so maybe what you do is you select kind of like a parallel industry, somewhere where it's, let's say you're in some version of financial services. Maybe you're a mortgage broker. So you might say, okay, well, I don't want to be talking to mortgage brokers for the rest of my career, but maybe I can step over to bankers or real estate agents or insurance agents. There's people who are kind of similar that may be good markets for you. And then once you step into those associations in those industries, you're not kind of as well known, and maybe people won't take you for granted. It's that whole expert from afar syndrome sometimes, right?
Yes.
You come in from the other side of the bridge, all of a sudden you're the expert from afar, but yet they won't pay you on your side of the bridge. So, yeah, although I will say, asking to get paid is your first step. Whenever anybody asks you to speak for free, you could say, well, I do this for a living. Is there a budget for this? And they just may, that old saying, Dr. Phil, you teach people how to treat you. You just may need to reteach people in the industry what to expect from you, because it is entirely possible that there are speakers who are next to you on that same platform who are getting paid.
Yes.
So,
Actually, I can speak to that from personal experience. I come from the library industry. I worked as a librarian for many years. And when I was, the first few years of my paid speaking business, I was still working in libraries. But at this point, I had now put out a book, a traditionally published book, under my own name, under my own right. I was separating myself from the library world.
yeah.
And I was asked to speak at a library conference separately from
Yes.
my work as a librarian. And I said, okay, this is what I do. You've seen my website. Here's my fee. And I was told, oh no, we see this as a service to the industry. I'm like, but I'm not speaking as a librarian. You've made that quite clear.
The service to the industry is not going to pay my mortgage.
Exactly, right? I'm like, but I'm not talking about the industry, and I'm not a very good librarian anyway. So like we parted ways quite cordially. And then I found out that one of my speaking colleagues had secured a very well-paying keynote with that same conference. And I'm like, I knew you had a budget.
See? Yeah, let's get creative about this. And so I think it's just a conversation, and we need to reteach people what to expect from us. And we can also move over into other industries.
Yeah. And like you said, get permission from your employer. Don't keep them in the dark about what it is you're doing. Have you ever encountered situations where there were employer speaking conflicts?
Well, I would definitely say that we've had situations where they say, okay, well, they're going to allow me to speak in this place, but not to all of our competitors or whatever it might be. And
right.
Of course you could understand that. We don't want to give away the secrets to the sauce to all of the competitors necessarily. But yeah, I think that's certainly something that you can be overcome with some candid conversation. We have a theory here at the Wealthy Speakers School that you always head off problems at the pass. If you see something down the road that's going to become a problem, address it straight up, head on. Usually the conversation goes way better than you've ever in your minds. You're probably making that the worst case scenario.
Right.
So it often goes much better, and then it's a relief, and you're moving forward, and all of your cards are on the table.
Right. And once again, like, my employer was enormously supportive.
Yeah,
Enormously supportive. But of course, if there are situations like there could be competitors there, are there any NDAs that you have to be aware of? Is there anything that is a no-go zone? Those are conversations that you have to have.
Yeah, and they're not that difficult.
No, it really is always a bigger problem in our heads than it actually is in practice, isn't it?
I had a friend, Rob, who he owns a plush toy manufacturing company. They make promotional products. And he didn't like his bookkeeper, and he kept her for 17 years. And then he finally let her go. And she was like, okay, packed up her stuff, and out the door she went. And he had dreaded that conversation for 17 years. Just rip off the Band-Aid, because chances are it's going to be a lot easier than you think.
No, have you ever seen significant differences, or do you find maybe that there's a headspace difference for people who are keynoting at big end industry events as an unpaid speaker, so as an industry insider, it's part of their salary, versus keynoting at a similar event as an outside speaker? Is there a different mindset that we need to get into?
Well, I think really the mindset across the board, either way, should be, what value can I bring to this audience? And if you're coming from that intention, then you're in good shape. I don't think insider outsider. I think when you do your research and your homework in any industry, and the highest compliment that someone can pay you is, wow, we thought you were one of us. We thought you worked for our company, or we thought you were, from our business. That's a beautiful comment. It's because you have done your research, done your homework, and you were able to make the audience the hero of your stories, and you were able to do all the things that really elevate a speaker no matter where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. And those, a great place to experiment with those strategies, with those stories, with those different maybe displays or performance tweaks, is those unpaid industry gigs. If you're being asked to speak and to deliver this report or to give this closing statement,
Yeah.
work some of your paid stuff in there and
Yes.
test it out.
And typically that will be in the form of a story that you're
Yeah.
testing, and see that that's a great place to really be testing materials, is on those freebies. And I mean, maybe I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I would actually ask for the business from the stage if you're doing a freebie. So let me explain what I mean by that. We have, I wrote a book called The Wealthy Speaker 2.0, and inside that book, there's this phrase that I love, that yours is all marked up. Mine's all marked up too. There's this phrase called the help me speech. And right before your closing story at a freebie, especially at a freebie, you might say, as you can see, I am passionate about communication. If you know of anyone who could benefit from this material that we've been talking about today, please come and hand me your business card. And in a virtual setting, we would do that a little bit differently, but basically you're asking for the business. That's the first rule of Business 101. And so you really want to take advantage of that and have people come up and give you their business cards, and you write on them, what it is that they talk to you about, and then you follow them up, and those lead to paid speaking engagements. And hopefully throughout your presentation, you will have dropped in, the beginning of a story was something like, well, I was flying out to such and such a city. A client had hired me to deliver a presentation, and then you go into the story about that situation, and now you've planted the seed that you are a paid speaker. So subtle little things, and then asking for the business at the end. Honestly, Lauren, I can't remember what your question was, but I hope I answered it. Did I answer it? I think
Sorry,
I went
I
off
need
on
to
a
scroll back
tangent
up now
there.
and verify, because I get so into it. Kind of those differences between being an unpaid insider versus an outside paid speaking professional. But from the sounds of it, based off of where we've gone with this conversation, is that the mindset is the same. You bring the same value, you
Value.
bring the same polish, you work the unpaid just as hard,
Yes.
because that can turn into paid.
Yes.
And even if it's unpaid, you drop the bug in their ear.
Yeah, we have a saying, there's no better form of marketing than a great presentation.
Yep.
So you could have a beautiful, fancy website and video and everything going for you, but if when you actually arrive on the stage, that is your opportunity to get, and we hope to get 2, 3, 4 spin-off from every speaking engagement that leads to more business down the road. That's our goal.
Absolutely. And regarding that website, just a quick extra note to throw back to what you said earlier. Let your employer know about the website. Don't let
Mhm.
any of this come up as a surprise to them. Show them once you build it. Look, this is fantastic. And I've listed our company name here too, so it's reflected there. And
Yeah.
let them see it, because they might even start promoting you as a paid speaker outside of it. These are your colleagues.
Yes.
They're probably excited for you as well.
You can easily create a win-win.
Absolutely. And any celebrity, if you are coming at this from a senior leader angle, you already have the big title, you have recognition.
Mhm.
Recognition for you as that outside expert is going to pull recognition in for the company. They're the ones lucky enough to have you.
Most definitely.
So
Most
lots of
definitely. And
lots
just
of
as a
winning.
side note, people who are coming out of big titles, big jobs, they can often start at higher fees
Yeah.
because they have, that kind of industry celebrity, and people will want to know what it is that they're going to tell them. What they're going to be very interested to see what value they bring to the table.
For sure. And alongside those higher fees too, is that there is some pricing psychology going on there as well. If you are a highly respected CEO, and I'm not going to ask you for specific figures here, Jane, because they can vary so wildly from industry to industry and even country from country.
Hmm.
But if you are a highly respected CEO, people might not respond very well if they see you charging too little.
Hmm. Yeah, there's an issue with credibility for people who charge too little. Oh, well, they must not be very good then.
Yeah.
And so you might be shooting yourself in the foot. So the answer to that is to make sure that you're connected to the industry in a way, and to people who can help you set those fees um, in a way that will allow you not to waste any time.
Who would you recommend speaking to regarding figuring out those fees?
Well, I would hate to be self promotional, but me.
It's true, everyone. It really is true. I brought her on for a reason.
Well, and maybe even just reading the book, The Wealthy Speaker 2.0, because we really do talk about fees very candidly in there, where you could consider yourself a professional in the starting point. So I think that'll give you some good ideas.
Absolutely. And speaking of Wealthy Speaker 2.0, again, I'm going to flash my very flagged up and written up version of the book. I love it. You've got a great formula in Wealthy Speaker 2.0. I love
I
that you
think
have
about a
your own book.
Kleenex in there. That's awful. I gotta take that out.
There's nothing wrong. You grab whatever is on hand when you have it.
Um,
But you have a great formula in there, the Ready, Aim, Fire formula. Could you summarize what that is for us?
So, Ready, Aim, Fire is our kind of success formula for going from zero to, say, $1 million in the speaking industry. In the ready stage, we get crystal clear on what we're selling. We pick a lane if needed, meaning what topic lane we're going to become known for. We develop some marketing language. We call that a promise statement. And once that's done, we're really, really crystal clear. So then we move that clarity out into our website, so that when the visitor prospect comes to our website, they know immediately how we're going to be able to help them. So in AIM, we develop the marketing materials, and then and only then do we start firing and roll that out to our target audience and our target market. And so a lot of people, and myself included, have gone things in reverse and started with fire and then going, oh, wait a second, we needed more clarity. And so they had to circle back to ready and then do aim and then do fire again. And so it just helps us. We put it in the book. That's how it started, was with the book. But now it's actually the framework for everything that we do in our coaching, in our Wealthy Speaker School, and all of the things that we do. We follow the Ready, Aim, Fire formula, just because it gives us a lot of clarity in terms of where we are at any given point in time.
It's so useful. It is so useful, because your head is going to start spinning. And by you, I don't mean Jane you, I mean the royal you, my watchers. Your head will start spinning with all of the different stuff you need to do. And having that formula in front of you gives you a bit of a roadmap. not a bit of a roadmap, a big roadmap, and it is incredibly helpful. So let's say that you've got a CEO, a respected senior leader, for the sake of a scenario in our heads. Let's say that we've got a COO for a respected hotel chain, and they
Okay.
want to take on those paid speaking gigs. They've got the bug. They've picked their lane. They're going to stay within their industry and adjacent hospitality industries. They've
Okay.
got a talks or maybe a couple of talks in their zone of genius. They've delivered these. They're polished
Mm-hmm.
because they've got the fever, of course, so they've polished them. And they want to start really attracting the paid gigs under their own personal brand. What would you say, outside of polishing and refining their talk, their first step needs to be?
So, if they know what they're selling already, it kind of sounds like the ready box could be checked
Yeah.
already. So, then we want to make sure that the website allows people to see immediately how you're going to help them. One of the things that we like to see front and center on a website is what we call a promise statement. That allows me to come out to that website and say, oh, okay, I see this is for hospitality and it's from a leadership perspective, and I'm going to be able to, develop high performing teams or whatever the concept is, and I understand it immediately. That's what that promise is designed to do, to make me lean in with curiosity and understand completely how they're going to help me. And once that is finished, then we might start planting seeds out into the industry to let people know that you're available for paid engagements. And then it becomes a numbers game.
Hmm.
So you want to plant and plant and plant seeds, and we never really know how long it's going to take for the harvest. That's really becomes a numbers game. So some people will have to, the goal is that you are getting out there and getting the word out that you are available on this topic, and that people are spreading the word for you.
Right. And it might take a while. It might happen quickly, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still that seed planting needs to go on, and your materials need to be on point at all stages for that to happen. Now, Wealthy Speaker 2.0, it's an incredible book. It is a Bible for anyone wanting to set up or accelerate their speaking business, but you have a fresh new one. And of course, because I'm a fan, I have it right here. You have a
Yay!
fresh new book for those who may already be experiencing a whole lot of success and want to expand it. So what I love about this too is that it actually specifically addresses what went on in the speaking industry during the pandemic.
Mm,
Because as everyone watching can imagine, our industry was really heavily impacted and we were scared. Like everyone else, we were scared. But
yes.
tell us a little bit about scaling up your speaking business. Who's it for? What's its promise? What's the promise statement?
So it's probably for a speaker who's seen some traction already and they're off the mark and they've got their, business running. And now they're thinking, okay, I'd like to get to $1 million or whatever it might be as a goal, or move from 100K to 500K. If that's the case, then very particular things need to be put into place in order to scale. We need to look at your systems. Do you have a system in place that is going to allow to do all those fire activities in the Ready Aim Fire process? We have a number of fire activities and we need to be doing them consistently, and it has to run like a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about team, we talk about getting your financial house in order. That's really important. There's a lot of important things that need to be done pre-scaling, and then steps that will help you actually get there. And I feel very grateful. I've been going for 8 years now to Dan Sullivan's strategic coach in Toronto, and he's helped a lot of people, many in the financial advisor community, scale their businesses. And so I've been able to apply what I've been learning there over to the speaking business, and it's really exciting to see people putting it into good use.
It's a great book. Once again, for anyone who's looking at, if you've already experienced that traction, this will definitely help you scale it up. And if you're wanting to get your start, it's the Wealthy Speaker 2.0 that you absolutely want on your
Yeah.
bookshelf. Now, Jane, thank you so much. You're an invaluable resource for speakers at all stages of their careers. You've got resources, you've got books, you've got a podcast, the Wealthy Speaker podcast. Never miss an episode. It is very, very good. Can you tell us the best place to find you so that we can soak up all of your knowledge?
Well, if you want to get access to the blog or the podcast or any of the products, go to speakerlauncher.com.
Wonderful.
Speakerlauncher.com.
That's great. And we've got it in the description down below as well as in the show notes. Jane, thank you so much for taking the time today to be here with us. I know there are people watching this that are definitely going to benefit from everything we've discussed, as well as the resources you have out there. And for everyone who is watching, thank you for joining me on this Talk Shop interview. If you want more of these interviews, as well as other communication tips and hints for everyday work and life, head over to laurensergi.com. Put your name in the pop-up and you will get my latest episodes of interviews as well as communication Q&A in your inbox as I release them. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all of that great YouTube stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Talk Shop Interviews. Take care.